Okay, let's just get right to it. It's a terrifying question, but I know it's on a lot of our minds right now. You see it in the headlines, you hear people talking about it. With all the rising tensions and talk of nuclear threats, it's really hard not to wonder, are we on the brink of some kind of global catastrophe? So let's actually break down what's going on here. So, is this all just media hype, or are we genuinely actually heading towards a third world war? In this explainer, we're going to dig into all of it. We'll look at the real risks, but also the powerful forces that might be holding us back. And maybe most importantly, what would a modern global conflict even look like? All right, first things first. Before we can even talk about the risks, we need to be on the same page. What does the term world war even mean in the 21st century? Because trust me, it's a whole different ballgame than it was 100 years ago. Yeah, see, a world war isn't just a big fight between two countries. By definition, it's this massive, sprawling conflict that sucks in multiple global powers. We're talking about fighting across different continents, requiring the full mobilization of entire nations. And the consequences? Well, history has shown us they are absolutely unimaginably devastating. But here's the real kicker, the one single thing that changes everything. Past world wars, they completely reshaped the planet, right? Empires fell, maps were redrawn. But a modern world war, that would be fought in the nuclear age. And the scale of destruction, it's not just devastating anymore. It's literally unimaginable. That one fact changes the entire equation. Okay, so with that pretty terrifying thought in our minds, let's look at what's happening right now. What are these specific warning signs out there that have so many people, well, so worried? First up, you've got the rivalries between the major world powers. I'm talking about the increasing tension between the United States and China, and of course, the ongoing friction between NATO and Russia. And let's be clear, these are not minor disagreements. This involves the most powerful nuclear-armed militaries on the entire planet. And second, look around the world. There are several active wars and major flashpoints happening as we speak. Now, it's easy to look at them and think, oh, that's just a regional issue over there. But history teaches us a really dangerous lesson. Small conflicts have this terrifying habit of escalating, of pulling in allies and just spiraling completely out of control. World wars don't just pop up out of nowhere. It's more like climbing a ladder, step by step. It starts with things like rising nationalism, big military buildups, intense economic competition. Then you get a trigger event. It could be anything, a single attack, an assassination, and that one flashpoint activates this whole tangled web of alliances. Suddenly, what was a local crisis is now a full-blown global war. And the scary part? A lot of those early warning signs, we can see them today. But okay, it's not all doom and gloom. As real as those warning signs are, there are also some incredibly powerful forces working in the other direction. Forces that are actively preventing a global conflict. This really is the other side of the coin. You have to remember, the world we live in today is fundamentally different from the world of 1914 or 1939. And those differences, they act like massive brakes on any potential escalation. So what are these brakes? Well, there are three really key deterrents. First, and this is the big one, nuclear deterrence. The simple, terrifying knowledge that a major war would mean mutual, assured destruction for everyone involved. Second, our economies are all tangled up together. A global war would absolutely wreck the world economy, not just for a few countries, but for everyone. And third, we have global diplomacy. We have institutions like the UN that are specifically designed to talk things out and de-escalate crises. 9. That's how many countries have nuclear weapons today. And yeah, on the surface, that sounds absolutely terrifying. But in a strange, paradoxical way, it creates a weird kind of stability. The logic of mutual destruction isn't just a two-player game between superpowers anymore. It's a global reality that forces everyone to think twice, or maybe 100 times. So, okay, we have these powerful safeguards in place, but they aren't foolproof. Nothing is. So that brings us to the next critical question.
What specific events, what kind of triggers could actually override all these deterrents and kickstart a global conflict anyway? All right, trigger number one, a direct clash between superpowers. This is probably the most obvious and the most dangerous one. I mean, if troops from, say, the US and Russia, or the US and China, were to actually start shooting at each other, the pressure to escalate would be immense. It could override every single restraint we've talked about. Then there's trigger number two, and this one is pure nightmare fuel. A nuclear miscalculation. We're not talking about a deliberate choice to start a war, but a catastrophic accident. A technical glitch in a system, a misread radar signal, some terrible misunderstanding that leads to an accidental launch. The retaliation would be immediate and, well, completely irreversible.
And trigger number three? This one goes right back to what we were talking about earlier, the expansion of a regional war. Picture this. A conflict starts between two smaller nations, but each of those nations has powerful allies. If those allies get pulled in to defend their partners, it's like a domino effect. That local fight could morph into a global battlefield between the superpowers before anyone knows what's happening. And finally, trigger number four is a uniquely modern threat: crippling cyber warfare. Imagine a massive cyber attack that shuts down a nation's entire power grid, or its financial system, or its military command and control. An attack like that could easily be seen as an act of war, and it could provoke a very real, very physical military response. Okay, so we've looked at the forces pushing us towards a conflict, and we've looked at the powerful deterrents pulling us back. It's a real tug of war. So, where does that leave us? What's the final verdict? Well, the truth is, the situation is anything but black and white. There's no simple yes or no answer here. What we have is a very fragile, very tense balance. The risks are absolutely real, and we should not underestimate them for a second. But at the same time, the systems we have in place to prevent that worst-case scenario, they're also incredibly powerful. You can really see that balance right here. On one side of the scale, you have all the things pushing us towards war: the major power rivalries, the active regional conflicts, the military buildups. But on the other side, you have the forces pulling us away: nuclear deterrence, economic interdependence, and global diplomacy. The future really just depends on which side of this scale gets heavier. So, let's go back to that very first question. Is World War III going to happen? The most honest, straightforward answer is this: it is possible. The conditions are there, the triggers exist. But, and this is a huge but, it is not inevitable. Human decisions, leadership, diplomacy, all of these things can still steer the ship away from the brink.
But, maybe that means we're asking the wrong question. Just focusing on will it happen feels kind of passive, right? Like we're all just standing around waiting to see if a hurricane is going to hit. The much more important question is an active one.
And that's the real question we should be asking. What can humanity, what can leaders, diplomats, and even citizens do to prevent it? How do we strengthen those forces of restraint and de-escalate the tensions that are pushing us towards a catastrophe? Because if history has taught us anything, it's that war is terrifyingly easy to start and almost impossible to control once it begins.